The next position we do need to talk about, because the Browns do need some help, is running back. I've already alluded to this, and the Browns just recently had a meeting with Florida State running back Trey Benson, who, I don't know about you, Brian, but I know a lot of scouts, a lot of analysts have him as either their top number one running back in the class or at least in the top three. So if Trey Benson's on the board at 54, is that a spot where the Browns would have to take him to get him? Is he worth that high of a capital, in your opinion? And just talk to me overall about Trey Benson.
Trey Benson is running back one for me.
Okay.
But again, this is the running backs are so clumped together. If you told me that of the top 6 running backs, you could see a different one be the first one off the board, I would be not surprised.
That's true.
MarShawn Lloyd, Southern Cal, Jonathon Brooks from Texas, Braylon Allen, Wisconsin, Blake Corum, Michigan, Jalen Wright, Tennessee. Any one of those guys could be the top running back off the board. And again, it's just going to come down to team fit. Trey Benson, I think, has breakaway speed. I think he's a better receiver than he's given credit for. Just wasn't asked to do it a whole lot. Florida State. Like I said, I really like what he was, 4.3 speed, 4.39 speed, something like that. I think at the combine was one of the top running backs there. He's got good size at 6 foot 220, I think it was. So
yep.
Yeah, he's a perfect fit as an NFL. He's a perfect NFL running back. If the Browns want him, it's going to have to be at 54, because I think the next spot where a running back comes off the board is 56 to Dallas.
Ooh, yeah, and they might be a team that would move up to get
for
him.
A running back, because they may be the one team that is desperate for a running back in this class. I don't think we're going to see one going round one, and nor should we.
No, I don't. I agree with you.
See one ever go. I don't think we should ever see one going round one. I'm starting to think that way about safeties as well, going forward as far as that goes, especially in this class. So this is a good year for the Browns not to need a safety, by the way.
Yeah, yes, it is.
So, but yeah, I think Benson would be a good target for them at 54 if that is the place they want to go. Because basically you've redone Chubb's deal to where it's kind of like we've cut some time off that sentence, right? So if we need to go, we can go. You signed a couple of free agent backs like Hines and Foreman, but those are Band-Aids on a bullet wound. You're not trying thinking. And Jerome Ford's been kicking around now for what?
2 years, but
2 years. What's he done? He's a 5th round pick.
He showed last year that he's not a feature back.
Right.
He's a good complement, a good change of pace.
Right. So running back could be that position that they deem, okay, we're going to get the best guy on the board, whoever that they deem to be the best guy at 54, and the rest plays out as it goes.
Yeah, because with the running back, as soon as Nick Chubb went down last year, the running game was just, they were patchworking that thing together the entire season. Then we started to lose linemen, and you saw, wow, Nick Chubb could really, make up for a lot of inefficiencies at times in the blocking and things like that, because he can create space on his own where Jerome Ford could not. If the lane wasn't clearly visible and open and waiting for him to go, he couldn't go. Now, if he got into space, home run, dude's gone. He's got super speed, and he's great that way. But getting into space was so difficult. And if the Browns want to do a more spread out offense and really utilize these receivers and Deshaun Watson to the best of their ability, I think you got to have a strong running game to lean on at times whenever you need to, in the weather, or just to keep the defense honest. And if they pulled the trigger on Trey Benson in the second round, though, I would be a little surprised just based on value and things, that positional value. I would not hate it. I would be very excited to have Trey Benson in Cleveland.
And it may be one of those where maybe they value a different running back. Maybe they like Jonathon Brooks and they think that's, I don't know if they brought him in for a visit, but that would be one that you want to get your medical team on because of coming off the ACL. Braylon Allen is a big back.
Yes, he is.
And he's going to end up in the AFC North. It just depends on what team. I think he's an AFC North back, right? He may end up in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, maybe even Cincinnati, maybe Cleveland. I think that he's gonna fit on one of those teams. for sure. Or maybe the Tennessee Titans, maybe they're trying to replace Derrick Henry with that. So those are the other two running backs I think that they would consider at 54.
Gotcha. So as far as meetings go, the list I have, the most recent that I've been able to find, the main running back they've met with, at least that would be in contention at 54, is Trey Benson. I did not see any reports of them meeting with any of these other guys or bringing them into Cleveland. So it seems like that might be the target, at least if they get to that point in the draft. They're like, that's the best value on our board that's still available. Let's take him. But the other running back that we've actually gotten kind of hyped on this show, Kenny Mack, our Canadian host, he brought this guy up a couple weeks ago, loves him, and he'd be a later guy. But what do you know about Aiden Robbins from BYU? I feel like you said Braylon Allen's a big dude. This guy's like 6'1", 240 or 235-ish. He's a big back as well.
Right. Yeah, he's 6'2", 237. He at the CGS ran 4.6 in the 40. That's a UDFA to me. I mean, you brought him in.
That's kind of what we talked about too.
For that, I don't think you're going to waste it. Or I'm not waste is the wrong word.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think you're going to use a draft pick on Aiden Robbins. I think he kind of screams undrafted free agent, and he may be one of the first calls they're on the phone with as the 7th round's ending. They're the scouts on the phone with and trying to get him in.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's not UDFA. Especially when you've got Andrew Berry making some of those decisions with his team in that front office, because, D'Anthony Bell 2 years ago, Ronnie Hickman last year, he can find undrafted free agents that come in. And it's like, wow, they actually made the team. We had Mohamed Diabate, a linebacker, made the team last year. So we've been doing pretty well in the UDFA department. Are there any other running backs that you think could be a good value for the Browns, or is it just kind of take Benson high if he's available, or maybe just shoot for a later round pick or a UDFA?
Two running backs I think that would be late round targets. I think the Browns could look at. One is Kamani Vidal from Troy, one of the better, highly productive backs out of the Sun Belt this year. Played at the Senior Bowl, catches the ball well, runs, explodes through. He's a good pass blocker despite being a smaller back. Measured in at 5'7", almost a little under 5'8", 213, but ran 4.46, 8.81 RAS. I mean, he tested well. The other guy didn't test because at the Senior Bowl, he tore his bicep in the first practice or towards the end of the first practice. But after that first practice, he was having running backs tend to not be able to stand out during Senior Bowl or All-Star game practices in general. Rasheen Ali, during that first day of Senior Bowl practice, probably the best running back practice I've ever seen.
Really? Okay.
At the Senior Bowl.
Talk to me about him.
He was that good. Like I said, he's a three-tool player. He can block, he can run, he runs fast, got good speed, and he can catch the ball well. He was one of the in the one-on-one pass blocking drills. He stood out as just never really got beat. Where he's at in his bicep recovery, I don't know. Could he be ready for training camp? I'm not sure. I don't know how science or medicine works. So it's, that's not for me. I don't know the timetable on those injuries. Like I said, if it was a knee injury, I would say no, but with an arm injury, I guess it just depends on rehab and stuff like that. He could be ready for training camp, but he would be a guy I think the Browns could target, later on day 3, along with Vidal from Troy.
I'm glad you brought up Rasheen Ali because I did a couple mock drafts a week ago, post on Twitter, and I took him with the last pick for the Browns at that time. And I had immediately somebody who was a Marshall fan said, hey, let me just tell you, this guy would be a steal that late in the draft. And I thought, okay, cool, because I was looking back through just his college production and things like that. Touchdown machine. I forget what the total number was, but every year it was like 12 or 15 or 17, just racking up touchdowns, which I don't know how you feel, but based on everything I listen to, touchdowns is like what they call a sticky stat, where if you are able, if you're a touchdown guru, that's just kind of your thing, that translates typically pretty well to the NFL.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that's one of those things where, if you see a guy didn't score a lot of touchdowns, why didn't you?
Yeah.
So it's the thing, and that's why I think, Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, the wide receiver. I think he's one of the reasons that I think he's going to have a good NFL career, despite being probably the fourth wide receiver off the board this year, is the man had 18 touchdowns this year.
He was also a touchdown machine. That is true.
Right. So, I mean, he had like 4 or 5 against Mississippi State, I think it was, in one game. So guys like that, like you said, they tend to make it in the NFL. So, yeah, I really like Rasheen Ali. He should probably go higher. If not for the bicep tear, I think he's probably a 4th-round pick.
Okay, cool. That's definitely a name to keep an eye on if the Browns do not take a running back earlier on, day 2.